Kicks off Severe Weather Awareness Week in the state of North Dakota. Valley News Team's Gabriel Osler spoke with local officials about how to be prepared and discovered a few things about weather that you might not know.
In 2011, the Weather Channel put together a bracket to determine America's toughest weather city. Fargo won that title pretty handily. Yet, even though issues such as flooding are common in the summer months, experts say a lot of people aren't prepared.
Preparedness to me is talking with your loved ones about what severe weather is.
So this is Severe Summer Weather Awareness Week. Both the Red Cross and local officials say that logistics are even more important than supplies when it comes to preparation.
Logistics, for sure.
If you have a plan in place, that's step one.
But supplies are still pretty crucial.
Step two then really is what happens during the emergency and making sure you have those supplies and extra equipment, extra medication.
Also, it's important to engage with your community when putting a plan in place.
Some of our neighbors need help during an emergency, may need to be checked on just to make sure that they're safe.
There's also some interesting facts about the severe weather events themselves. For example, there's a common misconception about what to do if you're on the road when a tornado strikes.
Do not seek shelter underneath an overpass or a bridge. That is one of the worst areas you can go.
And during a thunderstorm, you're not supposed to use your plumbing in any way. If that surprises you, or if you still need some help getting started with your plan, these services are here to help.
Courses that you can take if you even want to come become a volunteer. We offer all those courses for free, just to be on the next sets of being a subject matter expert of preparedness.
In Fargo, Gabriel Osler, Valley News Live.
Also important to note that the state of North Dakota will be conducting a test of its tornado warning siren. That'll be this Wednesday at 11:15 a.m. So don't panic when you hear it.